Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Grid Engine Podcast, Casting Out. We're back with episode 2 of Nostalgic Video Games with our homie Eric.
What's up, everybody?
He's here, but first, of course, I do need to introduce me and my co-host, Noah, the tallest feather duster.
Thank you. Let me introduce my co-host, Simon, the silkiest boy.
I like that for me. And then we got Eric, the Oswald, as usual. Now, before we get into it, today we are talking about mobile consoles. That's like our focus, right?
Yeah,
but
handhelds.
We do once again have 2 sponsors. The first one, Half Foods. We're going to hear from them later. What's our second one, Noah?
The second one is Jeff in the Box. We'll hear more from them later in the episode.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to start this podcast off by asking how you guys want to go about this. Do you want to go old to new, or just do like we did last time where it's like first experiences and then just discuss from there?
Yeah, we'll just do first experiences and discuss from there. I feel like last episode we tried to have a format, but we just ended up just fucking bullshitting.
That's okay. That's kind of what this is for. So here's my thing, right? I'm going to start. Watch this. Ready?
I'm watching.
DS Lite.
Same.
That was my first thing.
That was my first hand. I did go back and play the Game Boys, like Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance.
A little bit younger than you.
A little
Not
bit
much.
younger. You said you were 95 kid. I'm a 99. So,
So DS Lite.
yes.
That was my shiz dog. Like, you know.
So what was your first? What was the first handheld console you got your hands on?
I started out with the original Game Boy.
Like you know what? Actually, the DS Lite was the first one I owned, but the first time I ever actually like played one, it was the original Game Boy, and it was our mutual friend's dad that owned it, and he had it, and he had a Mario game for it, and he was like, "Oh, check this out," and I was like, "Dude, this," and I always loved old game consoles, so
Right.
But the DS Lite was the first one I owned. And funny story about that, my birthday was in summer, and then there was Christmas, and then my 2 brothers, their birthdays were in January. So I was the first one to get a DS Lite because I got it for my birthday, and then I was the only one with a DS Lite for like 6 months.
Nice.
And then on Christmas, both my brothers got theirs.
Okay.
But I felt real fucking cool, and I was the only one with a DS Lite for like 6 months.
I was introduced to pretty much every mobile console on field trips at school. That was where I saw all of them. You had kids with PSPs, Game Boy Advances, DS Lites, original DSs, all that shit. And so by the time I convinced my parents to let me buy one, because I had to pay for half of it, I chose a DS Lite just because of like the library, and it was the best out of those. I kind of wish I would have chosen a PSP, but simply because of like DS download play, the DS Lite was by far the best. Which, by the way, was the best invention ever. Download play?
Download play was fucking amazing, and not just that, but the PSP had an amazing library because it had really, really high quality games. But the reason I think the DS Lite's library was, in my opinion, better was because they had just so much more, and they had a bunch of like shit you've never heard of, but it was still some of the like best games.
Yeah.
Like some of the greatest game. I wouldn't say greatest games ever made, but they were some of the greatest handheld games made at the time.
Right, yeah. I would
There's
agree.
a title on there I could fight, might be top 10 games of all time.
What is that?
64.
We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Oh, you just get a honey dick us like
Yeah,
that?
dude, he's got
wow.
Got to keep the viewers in to keep watching.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, well.
I did have some next door neighbors who had the original DS, the one where the screen wasn't lit up. Because that's why the second
you could
DS
light it up.
Well, no.
You pressed a button.
I don't remember that.
It was like the Game Boy. There was a little sunshine button that would light it up. There was no version of the DS
it
without
wasn't backlit though. It didn't actually it wasn't like a lit up bright screen. You could change the brightness a little bit, but it wasn't backlit.
It was like the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because my friends, they had an original DS and then the
I had
Game
a
Boy
friend
Advance.
who had the original DS and a PSP, and his shit slapped.
Oh yeah.
But the original DS, I didn't mind it. It was kind of chunky, but the screen wasn't that noticeable because it was just like a GBA. You know, it was backlit in a sense, but not like the DS Lite.
Yeah. And no, it was just because like the DS Lite, I got mine, and then my older and younger brother got theirs, and I just remember that thing. Like once I got it, I played that more than I did my actual home consoles as a kid
Well, that's 'cause it's
during
less work.
that phase.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I could just bust that shit open and just fucking.
Yeah.
And also, when I was a kid, my parents had the whole like 20, 30 minute like rule. Like, oh, when you
can
play, you
sneak
guys
some
gotta
game time
take
on
turns.
DS Lite.
But if I was playing on my DS, I could play fucking anywhere, so there was no stopping me.
Yeah.
I would just fucking, oh, I can't play. Oh, I'm gonna go play outside, and then I just go in the backyard and just flip open my DS.
What was your game of choice?
So when the DS Lite first came out, I got it with New Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
And that was my first game, and I played that one through. I unlocked the secret worlds. I found out that if you held L and R when you selected start game, you got to play as Luigi.
It's true. That was a big one.
That was the first one. I think some of one game that I ended up playing the shit out of, which is funny because I don't have the patience for it anymore, was Dragon Quest IX. It was a turn-based RPG.
Oh, I never played RPGs.
Yeah, I got that game just on a whim. I saw it and I was like, oh, that looks fun. And it became like my favorite Nintendo DS game. But what's funny now is I tried to go back. I do not have the fucking patience for turn-based RPGs anymore.
No, they're too much.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. It was an amazing game. Loved the story.
I feel like Eric disagrees.
That may or may not have been the title I was going to say.
Oh, Dragon Quest 9?
Dragon Quest
Quest
9?
9 is one of the best game, in my opinion, one of the best games ever made.
I fucking love that game, dude.
Okay, I think it was either you or my neighbor Michael that got me into that game. And now I think about it, it might have been you. Dude, I played the shit out of that game.
It very well could have been me. I fucking sung that game's praises to everyone who would listen.
Right.
I'm glad I took, because it is one of my favorite games of all time. Like, it would probably be in my top.
Was it only on DS?
Yes, it was only on the DS.
Oh.
And here's the thing. Square Enix has remade every single Dragon Quest game.
Except that one.
9, and I am begging them, please.
Do you know
I
if
only
there's-
ask for one thing in the world, and that is for
It's a Dragon Quest 9 remake.
It's please. That's all I'm asking for.
I actually enjoyed 11. I played 11 on the PS4.
I have been playing 11. It is good.
That's
Have
all
you
I'm going to say about
seen-
that, though, because we're talking about handhelds.
Well, have you seen anyone else like on the internet singing the praises of Dragon Quest 9, or is it just a select few?
It's one of the only games that has been rated among the top review sites as a perfect game of like the perfect games.
Okay.
So here's
So
the
there's
problem,
really no
though.
reason they haven't remade it.
If you're someone like me who didn't really know about the Dragon Quest series and got into it with 9, or 9 was one of the first few you played, you probably love it. The story was great. If you like turn-based RPGs, it's amazing. For the DS, of course, the graphics were really good for a DS.
Yeah.
It had it had really good cutscenes and just everything like that. But according to hardcore Dragon Quest fans, it is the worst one.
Yeah.
Because it's the only one in which the main character is your own custom character. In every single
interesting.
Dragon Quest game, the character is a specific character given a specific design with a specific personality, and you play as that guy. Dragon Quest IX is the only one where it's like you create your own character and he has absolutely no personality and he's kind of just drifting through the story. But I think it works, though, because there's so many other characters
Right.
that make the story really full. And also, in the other Dragon Quest games, the characters that would be in your party would be friends you made along the way and be a part of the story.
Yeah.
Dragon Quest IX, you made all of your party members. You made custom... And if you found the secrets, though, there were characters in the game you could hire to be in your party, but it was really hard, at least for me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I could never figure out how to activate those quests.
Interesting.
But for me, that was awesome
Right.
because I made my character me. I self-inserted, and then all of my party members, I made my friends. Like I had,
nice, yeah.
I had like,
Was Eric on there?
I don't remember, but like I had, well, because you can like, I think you can create up to like 8 or 10, but you can only have 3 with you at a time.
Oh.
So I just made a fuck ton of my friends, and I would just be like going on this grand adventure with my friends in this video game.
Yeah, that is, especially like for self-insertion, that's excellent for, a kid of that age with a handheld.
And
That sounds pretty
it was
sweet.
also multiplayer.
Yeah.
You could have one person come into your world and you'd both be running around, and you could both you could enter fights separately, but also if your friend got into a fight, you could run up to them and then they would give you a prompt, press A to join fight. And then it was still turn-based, but basically you would both like get to like select your attacks and then and all that shit. And it was really, really cool.
Nice. That sounds pretty sweet. I
All the
never.
bonus quests you get at the end,
The
that you
treasure maps,
and the post game is
so
rivals-
extensive.
it's so good.
You can literally kill God.
Oh wow.
One of the bonus quests at the end of the game is to find and kill God.
Sounds like God of War.
And like all of like past Dragon Quest bosses, like from what I've seen, like a lot of like fan favorites from older series you can fight. Now Dragon Quest 9 was my first Dragon Quest game, and so that's probably why I'm partially biased towards it, but I just think it's so, and it's, I think, the best DS game. And yeah, if you don't like JRPGs, you're not gonna like it, but if you have any like for JRPGs nowadays, I still think it's worth playing.
It definitely is. If you enjoy them at all, it's a really fun game.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
let's we've been talking about this in one game.
Oh
for
yeah,
a
no,
while.
it's all good. It's like
Well, now that we got that out of the way,
yeah, I mean, that's important for you guys. I never played that one, but I was really lucky when I bought my DS. It was from an older kid, and I, along with it, he had like this micro SD converter cartridge with a micro SD card in it that had like 50 games on it
Oh shit,
that were all just pirated.
dude, that's fucking awesome.
So along with my DS, I got 50 games.
dang.
That's a fucking good deal, dude.
One of which was Mario Kart.
Yep.
Super Mario 64 was on there. There was a bunch of other games that I never even played. I didn't know what they were because the icons for them, it was like the Pirate Bay, but on a cartridge. Like they didn't match. The descriptions were shit. So I just boot them up and be like, oh, now there's aliens and I'm in space. That's weird. Crazy.
Crazy.
But yeah, the DS Lite experience was very positive, and I didn't get a GBA until I was 20.
Yeah, my older brother had a Game Boy Color. I have no idea when he got it, that I saw every now and again, but he didn't really let us touch it all that much.
Pretty sacred.
Alex was very protective over his stuff, which is funny because it's kind of translated to me. Now I'm, as an adult, I'm like, you must be fucking careful with my shit.
You grow up with two brothers, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, well, I'll tell the story on the next one because we're talking
Okay.
about Handheld podcast.
All right.
This is technically a home console story, but I'll definitely tell this on the next episode.
Speaking
I
of
think I know where we're going with this one.
speaking of home console stories, the Nintendo 64 beef you guys had has now been squelched.
Yes,
we are here the following week after last episode, and Noah has brought the broken N64.
Well, there's no beef. Wait, what?
Dude, I'm materializing beef. Chill.
I mean,
How are
yeah.
we gonna-
I mean, yes.
So yeah,
I do have the N64 with me. It is in my car. I'm going to return it after this episode is done. being
excellent.
filmed.
So good.
The N64 restoration project will begin after this podcast.
Oh, that's gonna be sick, actually. All right, check this out. Ready? PSP. I'm gonna move right along.
Ratchet and Clank size matters.
Yes. Ratchet and Clank. You didn't do any PSP stuff, right?
My only PSP experience was was one time in first grade. We had they had show and tell, and the cool kid in class, and he came up and he had a PSP, and I was like, that is the coolest. Like the screen was like pristine.
Did the case look like a bomb?
he just had the whole
No,
the
this
whole
is
thing.
this is a joke about something I said
Oh, okay.
in our cringy high school stuff. So
That's my only experience with PSP.
well, me and Noah I think have some, so we're gonna talk for a split second. I got one after my DS Lite, which I traded into GameStop to get the PSP
Oh, shit.
because I had I don't know. I think I just decided that I wanted a PSP.
Do you regret that decision at all, or do you think that was the right
I wish
call?
I still had the DS Lite with that cartridge with all the games. I don't know where it went, and I'm sad. But I do know that the PSP, I had Gran Turismo on it. That was really impressive for the time. Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. Excellent game.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to think what else I had on there. I don't know. There were some good titles. I think I just didn't have them.
So, with a lot of my console stories growing up, when I was a kid, a lot of how I got consoles was my older brother would get them. He would play them and get tired of them, get something new, and then I would get it.
Right.
And that's what basically, and it wasn't like I would get it. It would basically just, he would stop using it, so he would let me borrow it. And that's what happened with the PSP.
Oh.
My older brother got a PSP, and he would play it all the time, every day.
Yeah.
His main game was Ratchet and Clank, and then Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. Those were his 2 games.
I think I had that one.
And then once he beat both of them, he wouldn't really use his PSP, so I started swiping it and playing Ratchet and Clank.
Force Unleashed was on PSP?
Yes, it was
The
on
first one.
it was on like every console at the time, and every single version was different. The only
Wii version was shit.
The only 2 versions that were the same were the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 versions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Actually, funny story about that, the Wii version, other than like the graphics and like the fact that you had
The motion controls. Yeah.
a lot of people consider it to be, in terms of like story wise and features wise, the best version,
Interesting.
because
It also
they
has multiplayer.
it has a dueling mode, because they remastered it and released it on the Nintendo Switch eShop, and it's the Wii version.
Oh, that's cool.
And it doesn't use, and I think you can use motion controls if you want with the Joy-Cons, but
no
it
one
has
does, yeah.
But anyways, Force Unleashed and Ratchet and Clank Size Matters for the PSP, swiped it from my older brother, and I would play those all the time. But really, that was my only experience with it. I didn't have this extensive library or or anything like that. We didn't have like a whole lot of money to throw at video games, because my parents just like, we basically, anytime we got new stuff was birthdays and Christmas,
Right.
or if we did like extra chores for some cash, so we didn't have a whole lot of money to throw at video games.
Yeah. I liked what Sony did with the PSP, though. Their rendition of the cartridge was really unique, and I thought it was really cool that they chose to go with a mini
The
disc
mini discs.
in the cases. I remember the first time I tried to play a game, I tried to open the case. And
Same.
Luckily,
I tried to fucking break the disc out of the plastic cartridge.
Luckily, I figured out before I broke it. I was like, wait, I think the whole thing goes in here.
I was trying to open it, and I was like, this is really hard to open. I don't think I'm supposed to get in here.
Yeah.
I think the reason they did that was just because the same reason the PlayStation 1 went with discs instead of cartridges.
It was more storage space, right?
CDs have, or
I think it was a
discs,
CD-ROM.
whatever. They can hold more storage, and they also can basically you can make games with better graphics on them.
Yeah.
That's why the PlayStation 1 had better graphics than
Right.
the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo decided to stick with the cartridge.
So, okay, we covered the PSP, covered the DS Lite, a little bit of Game Boy. So, what comes after that in y'all's mind?
For me, it was the DSi. When they added the internet connection to the
I
DS.
did not catch the DSi. That was the one I missed.
No, I had the Lite because, see, my main one was the DS Lite because it also came. I think the best part about the DS Lite was that it came with the Game Boy Advance.
Oh yeah, the
slot.
Game Boy Advance
that's true.
port on the bottom.
Yeah.
That shit was
And
dope.
they got rid of it on the DSi, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was I'm probably the resident Pokemon player.
Oh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't play any Pokemon.
I played Red and Blue, but then everyone's always like, oh, Gen 1ers, blah blah blah. Well, I am a full-blooded Gen 3er. I believe Gen 3 is the best generation of Pokemon. So Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire.
Yeah.
I still play. I'm literally playing through Emerald right now. It's so
Nice.
good. And yeah, because I still have a DS Lite, and only the bottom screen works on that one right now. So, but I can play Game Boy games on
Yeah,
the
because it
bottom.
only requires a bottom screen.
It only needs one screen, so I've been
That's tough.
playing Pokemon Emerald, and so yeah, I didn't get the DSi, and I probably wouldn't have because it wouldn't play DS.
You had flip notes, dude.
Dude, the things they added to that were such garbage. It
So-
was just to draw the kids in, like, oh, the internet? Dude,
Flip
I'm
note-
not supposed to be on that.
Pretty much. So with the DSi, I actually didn't get one. Only my brothers did.
I remember playing them at your house because I thought they were so cool.
Yeah, my birthday came around, and my parents were like, do you want a DSi or do you want some other shit? And I was like, I have my Lite. I'll go get some other shit. But then for Christmas, both my brothers were like, no, I want the upgrade. I want the DSi. So they both got their DSis, and Flipnotes, the Flipnote Studio, was like actually the coolest fucking thing. It was basically it was basically YouTube for kids.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
because
unfamiliar with this then.
there were like legitimate like popular creators who like made like episodic series on
How do you
Flipnote
upload?
Studios. You would be
On the DSi? Like
Yeah.
you couldn't access it on computer or whatever?
Yeah, it was just the DSi. Basically, you know how Flipnote, it basically just worked like a if you had like a book of like sticky notes and you just flip through it. You would draw, go to the next slide, draw.
So they were animating.
Yeah, and then you
Okay.
could record audio and shit like that, and you would just use the stylus to draw. And
Did they monetize it?
no, it was never monetized. A lot of people would take like YouTube videos or like Family Guy clips or stuff like that, and then just draw them and use the audio from the show or the YouTube video. But there were a lot of people who made their own original content and had like
Could you subscribe
long running episode. No, you just had to go on the like online page and just
Interesting.
hope it showed up on your page. But they had like these like really long episodic series, and they were super fucking cool.
That's cool.
And then they ruined it with the 3DS because they made the 3DS Flipnote Studio, but it didn't come out until years after the 3DS was made, and it was also an exclusive thing. Only some people got it.
Oh,
So it was like, and by then the hype had died down, so
Oh.
no one gave a shit.
cool. Okay, now we're going to hear from our first sponsor, which is Half Foods. Now, I'm sure you guys, especially those of you who live in like bigger cities, have heard of Whole Foods. It's where you pay way too much for the same shit you can get literally anywhere else. And they just convince you that it's of higher quality somehow. You guys are getting pranked, by the way. But so this grocery store reached out to us. It's not necessarily local, but it's definitely not, as prevalent as Whole Foods. Obviously, their name is Half Foods, and they just charge half of what Whole Foods does, which makes them the average grocery store. Their prices are exactly the same as everywhere else. It's pretty sick, and we don't really have a promo code. We're just letting you know about them, and they're paying us money for it. It's excellent.
Hell yeah.
We have one here. I really enjoy their produce section. They have a lot of muskrat and also duck meat. They specialize in that stuff, which is kind of hard to get other places. And they put it in the produce department. They really like fucking with you. The carrots are actually in the deli, so it's kind of weird. You guys will figure it out. It's quite the experience, kind of like a rainforest cafe. They have like snakes and shit. I don't know. Thank you, Half Foods, for your sponsorship. PS Vita, baby. This is my shit.
The PS Vita is honestly, it's a really sad. The PS Vita is a really sad story because it had such potential. The graphical power was amazing. It had the
720p.
Pretty
good.
for a handheld console.
Yeah,
that was
that's pretty
fucking
good.
amazing.
The touchpad on the back.
Touchpad on the back, 2 joysticks.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's,
huge.
right. Yeah,
That was huge.
It had the potential to be the best handheld console.
and the remote play with the PS3 that actually worked.
Yep.
That was pretty sweet.
And then they fumbled the fucking bag as hard as you possibly fucking could.
Yeah.
The games were shit. They were half-baked. No one wanted to make games for the Vita.
Yeah.
Most of the games that came out on the Vita you could get on the PS3 or PS4.
Right.
It didn't have any of its own original content.
It did. You just had to dig.
It did, but also, like, one of its original games was Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified.
That's right.
And
that
it
game was
sucked.
not great. Yeah.
It just played like Black Ops 1 and it was fine, but the online nobody played it, and then it didn't even have zombies, even though it was a fucking Black Ops game.
Yeah. Kind of
How do
goofy
you
on.
not have zombies on a Black Ops game?
Exactly.
That's what we were all kind of thinking. Because I remember I got it. I was like, this can be sick, dude. I have Black Ops 2. Now I can play on my Vita.
Oh no.
This is garbage.
Dude, you can play zombies on mobile.
You can play
Yeah.
zombies on the DS Call of Duties.
Yeah.
On Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On Call of Duty Black Ops with the Nintendo DS, they had a zombies mode.
See, I only played like World at War on DS.
Yeah, sadly, World at War did not get the zombies mode on the DS.
Well, I do have to say the PS Vita was my favorite handheld. Simply because, obviously, I'm a PlayStation kid, but also Uncharted. The original Uncharted game that they made for the PS Vita exclusively,
Oh, fuck, I never played that.
it was very good. For what it was very good. It was not made by Naughty Dog, and they somehow still made it really fucking good. They used the touchpad for you to like look at artifacts and stuff.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
you had to like use it to inspect them to find a clue for a puzzle or whatever. it was the same, redundant gun combat that you expect from any other, any other Uncharted. But I still am huge into the Uncharted games.
Yeah.
I've beat all of them except the brand new one for like 2 or 3 times probably.
Yeah. Sorry.
It was just an incredible title. And I hope they remake it someday because nobody really knows about it.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a good story and a fun playthrough for sure.
I think part of the reason Nintendo has always beat out the competition with handhelds is the fact that Nintendo makes such unique games for their handhelds. Well, it's like on home consoles, you have all these shooter games, all these beat 'em up games and stuff like that. And then they release the Vita, and the Vita just has the same shit. But if you're getting a DS or a 3DS or whatever, you're getting a completely unique experience with that console. Mm-hmm. But if you buy a PS Vita, you're just getting a PlayStation 3 in your hands, which is still really fucking cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't cool enough to have a strong enough market to last.
Yeah. I mean,
well, also Nintendo, they've had handheld departments like since the GV, the Game
they've been
Boy.
also doing it way longer.
And they're also hard carried, in my opinion, just by the existence of Pokemon on handheld.
Oh, that was like the perfect franchise. Yeah.
Which is the perfect handheld franchise, which, Sony doesn't have anything like that on theirs.
No, they don't.
Nor a department to just do mobile or not mobile, handheld. So
I played a ton of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale on the Vita because that was really the only reason
it was also available on PS3.
Yeah, but there was the only reason to play it was on Vita because it was a decent, very broken,
fighting game,
kind of like Smash Brothers, sort of.
Just way worse.
Yeah, worse with a worse cast, and obviously, like I mained Nathan Drake, and there's videos on the gaming channel of like tournaments in that, and you can see me just demolish everyone with these insane combos that I memorized that no other character could. There was like an unbreakable chain combo to a level 3 kill with Nathan Drake.
Yeah.
That I had completely memorized.
And
it was busted, dude. It was busted. But I believe they also had God of War 1 through 3 remastered on PS Vita, which was really good. But nobody knew about it. Surprise, surprise.
No one gave a shit.
Also they didn't make a Ratchet and Clank for it. So that was on there.
I think that was a big mistake of theirs, and also the marketing was shit.
I was saying, so why does nobody know? Because was just the marketing bad?
They did not get the word out there. The only time I ever saw a PS Vita commercial was on the TV inside the GameStop.
Yeah.
That's the only time I saw an ad for PS Vita.
And it was just sad because that console was so cool.
Yeah, and if it hadn't have failed, they probably would have continued making portable consoles, and we would probably have whatever the fuck.
We would have a Switch, but not with a dock attached and all this shit. It would just be good.
The PlayStation Switch.
I said what I said.
So the PS Vita is honestly a really sad story because it had such potential and then just shit the bed.
Yeah.
But a really good story of handhelds is the Nintendo 3DS.
That is next on the timeline.
Did you ever own a 3DS?
I got one a couple years ago from big mistake. This was right before I started like trying to go like collect retro.
Oh yeah.
And I traded my SP for a 3DS.
Oh no.
And it's like kind of broken on the side, but it's like I panicked because I saw that I wanted to start collecting on there, and it's like, well, I'm not using the Game Boy other than for Pokemon. I have my DS Lite for it, and then I immediately regretted it as soon as I did it.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. That shit's tough, man. But honestly, I didn't have a 3DS.
I did.
Until the new 3DS XL came out.
Oh, I remember you buying that. Yep.
Then I bought one, and that was the coolest handheld probably that I've ever had, simply because the Vita was so weak.
Yep.
Smash Brothers, a full port from
just
the Wii U.
Port of the Wii U version. That was epic.
In AIT for the military, me and my best friend in AIT, all we did every single night after class was play Smash Brothers. And we got unbelievably good at that shit. hours and hours and hours into that. A little bit of Mario Kart, not much. I think Mario Kart DS was stronger, honestly.
Yeah.
But
Mario Kart 7, I personally didn't find all that fun.
no, it was kind of weak. But it was there, you know, it was cool, whatever. The I don't know, man. Just Smash Brothers was like the big thing for the 3DS. And Majora's Mask and
Majora's Mask?
Basking with Majora and
And
the
Ocarina.
Legend of Link, Zelda's Ocarina. That one, those ports also made it like an absolute banger.
So I got the 3DS the day they dropped the price. Because if you remember, it came out and it was really expensive.
It's like $250, right?
It was $250.
And then people discovered the 3D is just a gimmick and sucked.
Yep. So no one was buying them. So they dropped the price to $150. And I was at Target with my mom, and I hadn't heard they dropped the price. And then I walked by the video game section, and I saw 3DS $149.99.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, I have $110. I'm so close. And then it was like, or I had $100.
Right.
And then there was this list that said, sell us your old DS for a 3DS. And
This was at GameStop?
This was
No,
at Target.
What?
And they were
Since
buying,
when do they do trade-ins?
I don't know. And they were
Damn.
buying DS Lites for $40. And I had
tax, sales tax.
I had 110 and they were buying it for 40. So I sold my DS Lite to them, and my mom covered the sales tax.
That's nice.
And I ended up, and I got it. Not the best choice because I lost out on that GBA port on the DS Lite, but I don't regret it because the 3DS was just an amazing console. They had, like you said, even though it was a weaker Mario Kart, they had Mario Kart 7, they had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, they had the Smash Brothers, and there was just
You can play DS games on there, too.
Yeah, and you could play
Yeah.
DS. So
Yeah.
I still played a fuck ton of Dragon Quest 9. I played through that game, I think, like 3 times, Dragon Quest 9. And then I also played a lot of The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, the Zelda games for the DS. And I ate that shit up all fucking day. And I actually didn't upgrade from the original 3DS until they made the 2DS XL. Because they made...
I remember they did the 2DS because they were like, people don't like this 3D shit, so we're going to make
Nobody uses it.
a dumb one that doesn't fold and protect your screen.
it
And
looks
that
ugly.
one sucked. That one sucked. But eventually they made the 2DS XL, which was the same size as a new 3DS XL, and it folded and everything.
Yeah.
They just removed the 3D feature, and it was a little cheaper because of that.
And the 3D, like, I turned it on every once in a while if I had been missing headaches for a while.
Yeah. Literally all I would do is when the icon would pop up on the main menu, it'd be spinning. I would turn it on real quick just to
Does it
look
look
at it.
cool? Yeah.
I'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool.
Nice.
Or on the activity log, I would do it so I could see like the pencil come out of the screen.
Yeah.
And then specifically on Ocarina of Time, I would turn it on and turn Link towards the screen and start swinging my sword. And I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And then I'd turn it off.
Yeah. That's about all it was for. But, like, dude, that shit, the console itself was great.
Oh yeah.
Just
The 3D feature was
the
fucking
3D feature
stupid.
it was Nintendo, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the Switch is a good console. The fact that you can remove it from your dock is pointless.
I honestly think the reason they did that was just because they didn't want to make another fucking DS. They were just like, where do we go from the 3DS, dude?
Well, I mean,
A lot of people play without it being docked. Like a lot of people like the handheld.
Well, they
part.
made the Switch Lite.
well,
too.
yeah, the Switch Lite.
Yeah, but I think that's more like for kids
Yeah.
because
Totally. I don't own a Switch Lite.
As well as
That's
the
for
regular
kids.
Switch. I have both as well.
I have both. Yeah.
But
we have a regular and an OLED.
no,
No,
I don't
not
have
an
an
OLED.
OLED. I bought a Switch day one, and then I bought a Switch Lite.
Oh, okay.
yeah, same here. But, like, dude, do we include the Switch in this conversation?
I don't know if we include the Switch in this conversation because it's half and half. I would say yes because honestly, in my opinion, it's more of a portable console than it is a home console because the dock doesn't do shit. And yes, the graphics are pretty good, but for modern standards, it has the worst graphical power out of all of the home consoles.
Yeah.
And I get Nintendo has always been behind in their graphics.
Mm-hmm.
That's just Nintendo's thing.
Yeah.
They make up for it in their like unique IPs and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But I honestly think the Nintendo Switch more classifies as a home console because they made the Nintendo Switch that could be both. And then the only alternate version they made of the Switch was the Switch Lite, that can only be played portably.
Don't forget the OLED.
The
That was
OLED
supposed to be the Switch
is a
Pro.
disgrace to God himself and does not deserve to be talked about.
Yeah.
We were expecting a Switch Pro. All the rumors were talking about a Switch Pro that would be able to handle 4K when docked. And then we got the fucking disgusting disgrace that is the OLED.
Yeah.
See, I think that the Switch makes it's a great evolution of like Nintendo's you had the N64 bringing it out to 3D, then you had the Wii introducing motion controls and opening up accessibility, then you have all the handhelds, and then you have the Switch, or I mean it really started with the Wii U of like you can play on the pad, or
gamepad.
the T or the TV.
That was their first like dip in
The
their
Switch
toes.
feels like what the Wii U was supposed to be.
Exactly. And I'm really sad. I think that there is still a market for traditional handheld gaming. And it's just,
Mobile is taking it over
now it's just done by mobile. And
because there's some Nintendo games on mobile now.
and it's horrifically monetized and just like it's
Mario
a scam.
Kart.
Tour, I won't touch that with.
Mario Kart Tour and Super Mario Run,
Yeah.
or whatever it's called.
I did run a little bit just for like the platinum points for my Nintendo account.
Yeah.
But like I will not play more. Like I think
Yeah.
they need to come back with, a DS type console. And, there are a lot of great games that are on, the 3DS and, that style. And it doesn't have to look like Switch quality graphics or better. Like I think there's still a market for a smaller, truly portable market. And I think that the Switch just is killed it. Even with how awesome the Switch is,
Yeah.
it just killed that market. Because like how quick did that come out? And then they stopped making stuff for the 3DS.
Yeah, no, that immediately killed it because I think
Yeah.
the main thing that I loved about the DS and the 3DS, the XLs kind of made this part not like obsolete, but the DS Lite and the original 3DS and stuff, and actually the 2DS XL was slim enough to fit inside of your pocket, just like a cell phone could.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing is even the Switch Lite, the one that can only be played portably, you have to have an external carrying case.
Yeah.
You cannot fit that shit in.
Yeah.
Because, and also the reason the fucking
And
DS
it'll
was
fuck with your joysticks.
exactly. That's part of the reason the DS was so amazing in the way it was designed. All the buttons and the screens, you just folded it closed, and then everything was protected, and you just threw it in your pocket.
I also do want to touch on the fact that I think that using a pressure stick for the right joystick was the most Nintendo thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
where
that-
you're like, we made a really, really lovely
Circle pad,
circle pad,
and then we're
for the
going to
left
give you a clitoris on the right.
instead of just a smaller circle pad.
Yep.
That taught me how to use smash attacks without the right stick because
Yeah.
it was so inaccurate. It was horrid, and it was uncomfortable, and it was dumb, and I fucking hated it. And using it for the camera, fuck off and die.
Oh, yeah, no, that shit fucking sucked.
In Majora's Mask and
It was nice to
Ocarina of
have
Time,
the option,
I guess, but
but it sucked.
Bruh.
Did you know, actually, for the 3DS, it's, to my knowledge, it only works with like 2 or 3 games. When Kid Icarus Uprising came out for the 3DS, which was an amazing game, by the way, they also released a connection to the 3DS that added another full-size circle pad to the right side. Because how you had to play that game is you had to use the joystick to control and the touch screen to look around. So they made a connection that attached to your 3DS that
Yeah.
gave you a second circle pad so you could
Okay.
do like regular controls. Cool concept. But then when they made the new 3DS X and new 3DS XL and the new 2DS XL, they just went with the clitoris.
and it was really dumb.
Yeah,
I was
it
not
was-
happy with that. So, tell you what, let's hear from our second sponsor, and then let's tackle the Switch.
All right, so our second sponsor today is Jeff in the Box. Jeff in the Box is a mobile app which only employs people by the name of Jeff. And basically what you do is you can use this app to order food, and then a man named Jeff will go get your food, put it in a box, find your home, and throw it as hard as he can at your window. and attempt to break it through your window to get the food inside your house. So that way, it's not on your doorstep. Because what's the problem with all these other food delivery apps? They put it on your doorstep,
Yeah, it's really inconvenient.
and then someone can steal it.
Yep.
And even if they don't steal it, you have to walk all the way to your door and open your door. It's probably cold. But with Jeff in the box, Jeff will personally smash your window and throw it inside your house. So download the mobile app, Jeff in the Box. And when you sign up, make sure to use promo code GridEngine to get 50% off your first order.
Very good.
Thank you for Jeff in the Box for sponsoring this video.
All right. Moving on now. We are going to tackle the Switch, seeing as how it's not a competitor in our next episode, talking about real consoles. But we are going to treat it as a mobile console.
Damn, that's kind of fucked.
Yeah. We are going to treat it as a mobile console. And I think in this section, we can finally all speak on it because we've all had plenty of experience with the Switch. I'm just going to come out and say this because I know I'm going to be tooting my horn. I refrained last episode while you knuckleheads were talking about Sunshine. But I'm going to go ahead and just lay it out there. Odyssey is the best Mario game ever made.
Disagree.
In my opinion.
I can understand why you think that.
I've beaten the game 3 times, 100%, and I got into speedrunning for a little bit. And I remember you, me, and your younger brother all did like some of those like time challenges, like getting to a crazy, I don't know. What were you chasing? It was Luigi's balloon.
Yeah,
Luigi's balloon hunt or whatever. I was able to do pretty much any of the insane shit, and you guys were just like, man, how to get over there in 2 seconds. I was very fucking good at that game, and Cappy, I think, was the coolest add-on.
It was,
and the controls were so good, dude. All right, my soapbox has now collapsed.
Okay.
I think you're right that I think mechanically it's the best Mario game. My reasons for not liking it, and I have yet to like I bought it when I first got the Switch, and I have not played it since. And I think I am willing to give it another shot. My only reason for not liking it is purely it's really weird to say like Mario and immersion in the same sentence because there's not a lot of immersion in Mario per se, but like just the realisticness of like the dinosaur or New Donk City is just, it's really off-putting in like when you're used to the Mario IP. Even like weird titles like Sunshine, like you're on an island with these weird piantas, but like they feel like Mario characters.
They feel like they belong in the Mario
or like
universe.
the Star guys and Rosalina from Galaxy.
The people in
feels
business
like Mario.
attire in New Donk City are a little goofy, but the Mayor Delphine, what's her name?
I can't remember.
I don't know. The mayor of New Donk.
Paulina?
Yeah, Paulina. Sorry.
Oh, Paulina.
She is a returning character, and she looks.
Yeah, she
looks like a Mario.
Yeah, she looks like a Mario character,
Yeah.
but she is the bridge between the gap of the business suit and Mario.
Yeah.
She's somewhere in the middle, normal height, fairly normal looking, except for like the Princess Peach eyes and stuff like that.
She was the original damsel in distress in Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
Before.
I did think that was really cool that they brought her all the way back as like a fully fledged 3D character, which I thought was really cool.
Right. But I mean, yeah, Odyssey is just, it's my favorite game. If we're counting as mobile games, Odyssey is probably number one. We'll do it at the end, like we list our top 3.
That's the thing where I am kind of like iffy on calling the Switch, like counting it as a mobile in this video, because if we compare it to all the previous mobile consoles, even the Vita and stuff like that, it's just like, it's almost unfair because it has the capability and power to run console quality games. But I mean, also it's just
we're speaking to the
improving
Switch
with the times.
Yeah, we're speaking to the Switch Lite. I guarantee you, if Sony had made something recently, like with the PS5, it would blow the fucking Switch out of the water.
Yeah, so that's right. I guess
Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, there's also
the
the Steam Deck,
which is basically a
computer. Okay, I redact my statement. You both have points. Yeah, that's
the Steam Deck though. It's got its own fucking issues, from what I understand. It was a rough launch, and I don't know enough about it to really speak on it. I think it's cool, but
I think
getting
it was hard
PC,
to get it.
Getting PC guys to buy a mobile console, like
PC
Master Race,
luck.
it's not a market.
No.
You know, it's for people that it's a niche market, you know. So I don't think the Steam Deck is going to do any better than the Steam controller.
Yeah, I don't think they also had no. Sorry, that's another topic. Anyways,
So we will not be including the Steam Deck simply because none of us have it, none of us know much about it, and none of us want it.
yeah,
I would want one.
Really?
So I'm looking more.
he's
at,
also not like a PC player though.
yeah. I'm
That's
not a
true.
PC guy.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. That
So to you, it's access to the Steam library.
a world that
Basic.
you've never seen before in
basically.
terms
Okay.
of games.
So I guess the Steam Deck is
I think if we're gonna call the Switch,
you are the
a
niche,
mobile,
I suppose.
yeah, I would be in that niche, and you can. It's like an emulation machine
That's
that
true.
you can do.
Yeah.
With like I've been watching a lot of videos on it, and it's really cool what you can do. But I also want to get into that kind of stuff, like the analog pocket. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. I can't remember the company that makes it, but it's basically an original. It looks like a Game Boy SP, but it's got like a 4K screen, like the original button layout, and it comes with a dock that you can play Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Gear, other kind of games,
Wow.
and like it with like different control. It's like $230, but it's the best way to play handheld, like original.
That's really fucking cool.
Emulate handhelds.
Well, no, you can do it emulation, but it also plays it natively. Like you can use your
Use
cartridges.
the cartridges and stuff. That's
It's
really
really cool. And you can cast it to your TV, and it
Oh,
looks
shit.
beautiful. Like I would check it out.
That is kinda
It's
cool.
really cool.
What'd you say it was called?
It's called the Analog Pocket.
I'll
And it comes,
I'll definitely have to check
it
that out.
comes in black and white too. So, but yeah,
Regardless of that, on Wish.com, you can buy a handheld PS2.
On Wish.com, you can buy.
Well, it's like a thing, though, where like the controls are the same and they crammed all of the stuff from a PS2 Mini into this like thick ass PS Vita shaped thing. And it does work. Kind of.
You can also buy a Nintendo Switch that just is loaded with NES and SNES games.
Yeah.
It looks
The
just like
Soldier
a
Boy?
Nintendo.
All right.
so we have officially decided the Switch is a
Yeah, we're counting it because of the
Yeah.
Steam Deck and all that stuff. So
All right.
yeah, it should
Going this way, I spoke on Odyssey. Obviously, I like the new Smash.
I'm curious what
New
do you-
Mario Kart. Obviously, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe absolutely slaps. But that's all I have to say about it for now.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Have you played any of the Pokemon games on Switch? And if so, what was your thoughts on them?
I have not played the.
Well,
Don't
fuck,
bother.
there goes my question.
Don't bother. They're bad. They're
I've-
like really bad
I
from what I've heard.
I've heard the newest ones are really bad. Arceus, I've heard, is pretty cool.
I've heard nothing but good things about Arceus.
Yeah, I've heard Arceus is really good.
Is that one open world?
Yeah, that one's like the one that they made like very different from the traditional Pokemon
okay.
way of playing. And then Sword and Shield, I've heard are okay.
The only reason people don't like it is because Game Freak does not care about graphics. Pokemon always looked better with 2D sprites than they do as 3D models, with the exception of the GameCube games. And the real reason people hate Sword and Shield is because they decided to not include the national decks. And because people, especially competitive players, want to bring up all their older mons to the new game, which is fine. And I think that the national deck should have been included, but that's the real reason people don't like those games.
Okay. See, I didn't know. I'm not a huge like Pokemon player. I've always just been into the trading card game side of Pokemon, so I didn't
too.
know that stuff, and that's actually really interesting to find out.
So there's a reason that people that give a shit about the games specifically dislike them aside from graphics and gameplay. It's because of the like non-inclusion of older Pokemon, right?
So that was the issue with Sword and Shield. They said we're not going to do the national decks, and then like some Pokemon couldn't be caught unless you bought the DLC.
Oh, that's fucked.
Oh, pay to win? Let's go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nintendo.
Yeah, and
Taking a page out of EA's playbook. Fuck. You
and the graphics were not great.
want
And-
Darth Pikachu? Pay me.
But Game Freak has never, because they've mostly been like handhelds, and their sprite work is amazing. And so transitioning to 3D, Sword and Shield will give them a pass. It's fine. Now with the new ones, Scarlet and Violet, the problem is like gameplay. I don't know. I haven't heard anyone complain about like the national decks. I assume it's included. I don't know that. Someone have to check that for me. But the issue people have with the new ones is, once again, the graphics are not great. And some say that it's not an issue with the Switch hardware. It's just that Game Freak didn't put the effort into making
it better.
it better than Arceus, which apparently looks better than Scarlet and Violet. I don't like to like give companies excuses, but like they've never been known for that. And if you're expecting Dark Souls quality graphics from Pokemon,
Fuck off.
then I don't know what you expect.
Yeah.
But the issue is that the game crashes. There are bugs.
Oh yeah, I've heard it runs like shit.
It runs horribly, and
I
there are
personally really
big
like the
YouTubers.
3D style of the Pokemon, like Sword and Shield. I loved it. I played a little bit of I played Shield. And I can't speak too much on it because I'm not like this huge Pokemon fan. I didn't grow up. The only one I played it when I was about 12 years old. I played Pokemon. I think it was just Pokemon Green. But I personally, as someone who isn't a huge Pokemon fan, loved the 3D style. I loved how they brought it into that graphic style, and I didn't mind the gameplay, but because I'm not a huge Pokemon fan, I didn't give a shit about the National Deck. I didn't even know what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Right. And see, the thing that makes Pokemon great is that there are so many things that you can find a lot out of there that, like, if you want to be a collector and collect all the decks you can. If you want to be a shiny hunter, you can do that part
Oh
of
yeah, I've
the
seen
game.
those streams, those like shiny hunter streams.
Yeah, or if you want to just be competitive, you can. There's so many mechanics and deep layers of Pokemon to like build competitive teams, or you can just be a casual player. And I think a lot of people, but that all requires to have the original decks. Even if you don't care about completing the whole decks, you want older mons because they have better stats, or you want team composition. And that's the thing, it's about making your own team. And if you can't bring up older ones to do that, then people are going to be upset about that. And I think that
makes sense.
That
yeah.
was the biggest issue, at least for Sword and Shield. I think the problem with Scarlet and Violet is just
that
it runs
it's
horribly.
just wasn't made well. Fuck, dude.
Yeah. That's a bummer. What
And
else
I
do you
don't
play
want
on?
to ever hear anyone say that Game Freak is not a AAA studio, because they rake in so much. They make more money than Star Wars.
Yeah.
So,
So they don't really have an excuse for that bullshit.
yeah.
That's funny. Do you play anything else on Switch that you're like, you really enjoy or care about?
Oh, have you played Breath of the Wild?
I have played Breath of the Wild. Great. I mean, what is there to say that hasn't been said about that game? I mean, it is great.
Well, here's my question, because I personally love Breath of the Wild, but I do have my issues with it.
Oh, yeah, I guess I do have issues. Yeah.
What is your opinion on the weapon durability system?
I hated that, and I am not a Zelda fan. That was what made me stop. I still have the game. I've played it for 30 minutes, and as soon as I found out that the weapons perished, I was fucking done.
Pissed.
Yeah.
What about? I'm curious what you, because I don't know. I'm curious how you feel about it.
I like it. I think it's actually kind of like, because I also like Dark Souls, and that happens in Dark Souls too. Now, I think that the weapon durability, I think across the board, it should probably be 30% longer. Like, the weapon should be about 30% more durable, and they should only take damage when you hit stuff, not like if you just, like the bows, if you shoot, it'll
Yeah.
break, even if you're not like fighting. But I actually like it that they do break, because it makes you have to it makes inventory management matter. It makes like, oh, I'm gonna come up against a Lionel. I need to keep a few of my best weapons instead of
For that, yeah.
just running around hoarding your best weapons and just clearing everything. And I think it gives it a sense of difficulty out in the game that if they had just ported traditional mechanics into the game, it would, like from older Zelda games, it probably wouldn't have had as much staying power. But I think the weapon durability was a nice addition. And I know that's a minority take.
No, I get that. See,
I think they should have made it optional.
I personally, so my issue with it is that every weapon is way too weak. You can hit something like, you can have a fucking dope ass fucking sword. You can hit something like 10 times and then it breaks. So, and then if you don't have a full inventory, like if you haven't been stocking up and then you get into a really hard fight out of the blue, you can break everything, and then you're just scrambling trying to pick up fucking tree branches that break after 4 fucking hits. And they're just too weak. I don't mind the durability system. I personally, if it was up to me, I wouldn't have it, but I can play games with durability systems. I just hate how fucking weak they made everything.
Yeah, they should. I think it should increase the health or durability like 30%.
Like,
And I think that would make it a little better.
Because like in games like Dark Souls and stuff like that, you can pick a weapon and you can use it for a couple of hours before it breaks.
Yeah.
Zelda Breath of the Wild, you're lucky if you get 20 minutes out of a single weapon. And that's what I'm saying. When I have a weapon that has durability, I should be able to use that weapon for like an hour to 3 hours. 1 to 3 hours, I should be able to use that weapon before it breaks.
So, remind me, does the Master Sword have durability too?
It's a time limit,
I
isn't it?
fucking hate the way they did it. So
Because I remember looking it up. I don't remember what I found, but I remember looking it up. I was like, okay, if I play this game all the way through, I get to the Master Sword and it breaks, I am going to rage. Because what the fuck? That thing is supposed to be timeless. What the hell?
How they did it is it has a charge now, and after you do a certain amount of hits, its charge runs out, and then it takes 15 minutes of in-game time for it to recharge where
Fuck
you can't
you.
equip it.
Fuck you.
And then they had these things called Trials of the Sword, and there was 3 stages. Well, there was a bunch of levels to it, but there were 3 like main sections. And every time you beat a section, that the amount of durability it had increased. And
Does it ever go infinite?
no.
So there is no weapon in the game that will provide you with just, you can use this sword forever.
Nope.
I hate that.
See, but then it makes you have to use other tools in your tool, like other items or your magic abilities to do combat, or that in the other games, like you could go in the older Zelda games, the items are really just to use traverse puzzles or certain aspects of the dungeon
Or boss fights.
or a boss fight, but like most of the time you're just going to use the sword and shield. But this makes you have to use other stuff to survive, basically.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool, but I see the arguments both ways.
My problem with that is I understand the uniqueness of like having to use your inventory and having to use your abilities to like be able to survive and fight and stuff like that. But the reason it upsets me is because it eliminates the choice. I no longer have a choice to choose what's my favorite way to play the game and play the game I want to play and play the way I enjoy it. True. I have to play the way Nintendo wants me to play.
Yeah.
Because say I hate spears. I'm like, the spears suck. Yeah, they have long range, but I can't block. I can't, or specifically, let's say like the hammers and the great swords. Mm-hmm. They're slow as fuck. You can't block, and they're just, in my opinion, they fucking suck. Because the spears, yeah, you can't block, but they have long range and they're fast.
Right.
But the great swords and the hammers, they're super slow. Yes, they have longer range, but you're too slow to fucking hit anything and you can't block. I never want to use those fucking weapons. But when I get down to my last few weapons and that's all I fucking have, I have to. I can no longer play the game the way I want to.
Right.
And I have to play by Nintendo's playbook. I can't just be like, hey, this is what I enjoy. I have to be like, okay, this is what Nintendo requires of me.
Right. And there's no repair system, right?
Nope.
That also could have cushioned the blow of like the stupidity of weapon destruction.
Because a lot of games that have weapon destructions have
Dark
a
Souls
way
does.
to repair them.
Yeah.
Dark Souls, Dying Light, those games.
Like that's what makes it reasonable. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's just
My other
so
problem
stupid.
is it completely eliminates the value of finding rare loot. If I find if I find a really rare sword or a really rare shield that's super fucking cool looking and super powerful, I don't want to fucking use it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dude, I had to put in a bunch of fucking work to get this weapon or get this shield or bow or whatever. And if I use it it's going to break in 30 minutes. So why the fuck would I want to touch it? Now it's just going to either sit in my inventory forever, or I'll go back to my house and mount it on my wall. And yeah, that's cool. I can look at it. But the reason I put all the time into finding it is so I could use it, but it just fucking breaks.
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, the Hylian shield. It fucking breaks. It's the most durable shield in the game, but it does break. And in order to get it, you have to go to like the final boss area, find this cavern underneath the building, and traverse the like dungeon part of like the like prison part of the castle, and work your way into this big empty cell. And then you have to fight a mini boss to get it. It feels so fucking cool, and it feels like you're actually like going through this like trial to get it. And then it breaks, and you just have to do it again. But it's not as cool because you already did it once. And now you're just like, dude, I just want the fucking shield. Why am I having to do this again?
Yep.
And then it breaks a second time. And you go to do it a third time. And you're like, dude, I've done this fucking twice.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this a third time? And it just keeps on going.
Yeah.
And that's personally why I can't stand the system. If I think they should have had some permanent weapons. I think the Master Sword and the Hylian Shield should have had infinite durability. And I also think that the durability should have been bumped up a lot on all the other weapons.
I concur. Okay. To close this out, top 3 games out of all the consoles we spoke of.
Okay.
I will go first, so you guys have some time to think. Number 1, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 2, Uncharted on the PS Vita. Number 3, Super Smash Brothers on the new 3DS XL. Those are my 3. I spoke on all of them to why I think they're excellent. I feel it's fairly obvious why those are my picks.
That's fair. Number 1. Oh, man. I would have to say Dragon Quest 9. Number 2 would be Pokemon Emerald.
Okay.
It's so good. That post game is, and the fact that you can link with the Game Boy Cube with the cables to your GameCube, like playing Pokemon Coliseum.
Oh, yeah.
That was the coolest shit as a kid.
Yeah.
So Pokemon Emerald, and then number 3, I'd have to go Mario Kart DS. I put so many hours into that.
That's a good pick.
I'm playing through it. I played through it on DS, and I'm playing through it on the Wii U. And back in the day when that was online,
The vacuum car. Best car in the game.
I liked the cucumber with Yoshi. That was that, and the tank with dry bones were my favorite.
Tank with dry bones was busted.
Yeah.
It was so
But Luigi's vacuum was also pretty good.
Yeah. Those are my 3.
My 3, number 1 would be Dragon Quest 9. Number 2 would be Ocarina of Time 3D for the 3DS. And number 3 would have to be, we didn't talk about this game, so sadly no one's gonna, but it was for the DS, Lite, Drawn to Life. I forgot to talk about it, but it's basically use the stylus and you would like draw your character and draw your weapons, and then they would come to life, and you would basically, it was a 2D platformer action game.
That's really cool. There's a lot of mobile games that try to do that and don't do it well.
And you basically, just the concept was you would draw your character, and then you would like draw your weapons, and you would have, they made a second one. The sequel, in my opinion, sucked, but the first Drawn to Life for the Nintendo DS was an amazing game, and that goes on my number 3 spot.
I liked Scribblenauts.
Scribblenauts was cool.
Oh, I remember
That one was really cool too.
There's
Very-
a lot of games we didn't cover, dude. Those.
Yeah. But we'll do this again, but yeah, we'll go more into detail in games in the future, I think. But for now, that's all we have for mobile games. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you guys for listening.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.